What if I told you that Kelly's Heroes, that offbeat gold heist meets war comedy you might remember from late-night cable reruns, once featured naked girls in the pool, a wild orgy with a U.S. general, and an entire extra 20 minutes of footage that could have changed the soul of the film? And what if I told you this movie, wild as it is, was inspired by a true story that was once classified by the U.S. government? Yup, buckle in. This ain't your typical war is hell narrative. Released in 1970, Kelly's Heroes starred the ever-iconic Clint Eastwood as the disgraced Private Kelly, leading a ragtag group of GIs on an unauthorized gold heist behind Nazi lines. The cast? A murderer's row of charisma, Telly Savalas as the gruff and lovable Big Joe, Don Rickles as the snarky wheeler-dealer crap game, Carol O'Connor as the clueless General Colt, and Donald Sutherland as Oddball, the tank-driving, peace-loving, proto-hippie who seems like he wandered in from Woodstock rather than the Western Front. But beneath the explosive action and wisecracks lies a movie that was this close to being something radically different. Let's rewind to the beginning. Clint Eastwood only signed on to Kelly's Heroes because his go-to director Don Siegel was slated to direct. But Siegel got bogged down in post-production on Two Mules for Sister Sarah, so Brian G. Hutton, who had just directed Eastwood in Where Eagles Dare, stepped in. The movie was originally called The Warriors, then Kelly's Warriors, and finally the title we know today. But by then, the damage had been done. MGM, in a chaotic period of leadership shuffles and corporate takeovers, seized control of the edit, slashing 20 minutes from the final cut and lightening the tone in the process. What did we lose? Oh, just scenes that added major emotional depth and character development. Deleted sequences included a tense standoff in a barn where the platoon nearly turns on Kelly at gunpoint. Another showed Big Joe and Kelly hashing out their shared war weariness and frustration over being treated as expendable. There was even a shot of a wounded German soldier Kelly finds among the rubble, an image that might have lent a poignant edge to the chaos of the final assault. And yes, you heard right, there was also a deleted poolside scene featuring naked girls and German soldiers, and a moment where General Colt, played by Carol O'Connor, is caught in bed with multiple women when he's informed of Kelly's so-called heroic breakthrough. MGM decided America wasn't quite ready for that much moral ambiguity, or that much nudity. But wait, it gets weirder. While filming in Yugoslavia, Donald Sutherland nearly died from spinal meningitis. His wife received a telegram urging her to fly out immediately, because he might be dead before she got there. Thankfully, Sutherland pulled through, but it was just the first of two jaw-dropping moments for him on that shoot. The second, he got a message, relayed via Clint Eastwood, that his then-wife Shirley Douglas had been arrested for trying to buy hand grenades for the Black Panthers, with a personal check. No joke. Eastwood laughed so hard delivering the news that he collapsed onto the ground, and Sutherland had to help him up. According to Sutherland, Eastwood then put his arm around him and said, "I'm with you, man." That's an unlikely buddy movie we wish we'd seen. Back to the film. Kelly's Heroes was shot in the Istrian village of Vijanata in then Yugoslavia, primarily because the country still had functioning World War II tanks, most notably the M4 Sherman. The production transformed Soviet T-34 tanks into convincing Tiger I replicas, with meticulous attention to detail. And oddball Shermans? Yep, those were actually post-war E-4A 3E4s, outfitted with longer barrels to look more intimidating, mirroring a real tactic used by Allied tank crews. And speaking of oddball, let's talk about the movie's most unforgettable character. Donald Sutherland's Oddball is so out of place, he's perfect. A laid-back tank commander obsessed with positive waves, he talks like he wandered out of a Haight-Ashbury drum circle. In fact, critics at the time were divided. Some loved the absurdity, Others thought the hippie jargon clashed with the World War II setting. But here's the thing, that was intentional. The movie was released at the height of the Vietnam War, and much like MASH and Catch-22, Kelly's Heroes wears its anti-authoritarian, anti-war attitude loud and proud, hidden beneath a slick veneer of slapstick and action. Even the music plays a part. The now infamous theme song Burning Bridges, performed by the Mike Curb congregation, is an upbeat, fluffy flower child anthem. But it plays over sequences of war, death, and destruction. That tonal whiplash, pure subversion. Clint Eastwood reportedly hated the studio's decision to use that version. He even recorded his own, more somber rendition, which was quietly released as a 45 RPM vinyl. And in a delightful bit of musical trivia, the rumbling turret sounds of the Tiger tanks were later repurposed in Aliens 1986 for the movement of the power loaders. Bet you didn't expect Kelly's Heroes to be in James Cameron's toolbox. Now here's the kicker. The entire premise of the movie, a team of U.S. soldiers and German civilians banding together to steal Nazi gold, sounds like pure fantasy, right? Wrong. The screenplay, written by the Italian Job's Troy Kennedy Martin, was inspired by a real-life event. In 1945, as the Third Reich collapsed, vast reserves of Nazi gold were moved south by the SS. In the chaos, U.S. soldiers and German officers looted the treasure. For decades, this operation was shrouded in secrecy and labeled the greatest robbery on record by the Guinness Book of Records. The story eventually came to light thanks to investigative journalist Ian Sayer, who spent 9 years unraveling the mystery, leading to 2 missing Nazi-marked gold bars being turned over to U.S. authorities in 1996. That's over 50 years later. Back to the film. Remember that iconic standoff with the Tiger tank in the square? That's a not-so-subtle homage to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Same slow burn tension, same angular camera work, and even dubbed-in jangling spurs, despite no one wearing any. It was Eastwood's way of winking at fans of his spaghetti western roots. And as for Kelly and the gang, they pull off the heist, leave the clueless General Colt to soak up the glory, and drive off into the sunset with the loot. A happy ending, but not the real ending. According to Eastwood, the original ending had more weight. It highlighted what the war had done to these men, how their dreams, morals, and camaraderie had been forged not by patriotism, but by disillusionment. That version, gone. Buried in the cutting room by a studio that wanted more explosions, less introspection. But despite the meddling, Kelly's Heroes found its way into the hearts of audiences and became a cult classic. It's the kind of film that sticks with you, not because it's historically accurate, but because it dares to blur the line between heroism and hustle, warfare, and war profiteering. And yeah, somewhere out there in an MGM vault or dusty reel collection are the lost scenes. The pool full of naked girls, the general's bed full of lovers, the grit and the soul that could have made Kelly's Heroes something more than just a great time at the movies. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think? Should the studio have released the original cut with all 20 minutes intact? Would it have made Kelly's Heroes an even better film? Or did the final version strike the right tone for its time? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us your favorite moment from this cult war classic.